China has announced that it will be boosting its military spending in the coming years to counter what it describes as escalating threats from abroad. The move was announced at the National People's Congress, a rubber stamp parliament, which is currently meeting in Beijing. Officials said the country's military budget would increase by 7.2%. Now, China's current military budget is around $225 billion US. That's only about a quarter of that of the United States. China's military activities are being watched with concern by Taiwan, which earlier warned of the need to be on high alert for China entering areas close to its territory. I asked journalist Fabian Kretschmer earlier, who's in Beijing, if there would be any response to this warning by the Chinese government.
Yeah, probably today later during the press conference of the Foreign Ministry, but definitely not as part of the National People's Congress, because the agenda has been set for a long time, and this is not really how the Congress works. It doesn't have much room for day-to-day replies. But I think Taiwan's defense minister's the statement is quite relevant because it comes at a time during which China's military is sending almost on a daily basis fighter jets who reach close to Taiwan, who regularly enter Taiwan's air defense identification zone. That is not Taiwan's airspace, but it's kind of a buffer zone between Taiwan and China. And I think the fear in Taiwan is that China's military will, test its limits and basically send its fighter jets further and further and closer to the island.
Now, Taiwan has already been mentioned during this Chinese Communist Party Congress, hasn't it? Can you tell us what was said?
Yeah, yesterday Prime Minister Li Keqiang gave a one-hour speech, and he also mentioned Taiwan. I would say the rhetoric was rather subdued. It was softer than last year. He repeated China's official stance that it opposes Taiwan independence and that it promotes, quote-unquote, peaceful reunification. And compared to last year, he made, for example, a very stern warning against foreign interference. This he did not repeat this year, so I would say it is rather softer in tone.
OK, softer, but the Chinese Communist Party's leadership, as we've said, has announced this increase in military spending of more than 7% this year. So can you give us a sense of how big this increase actually is and what message is it sending?
Yeah, that's a very complex issue because, first of all, it's not surprising. Usually, China's military goals are laid out in five-year plans, so we could already expect an increase around 7%. That is quite a lot, but on the other hand, it doesn't factor in inflation, which then, if you look at it, the actual increase is not that high as it might seem. But I think the real issue here is that China's system, and especially the military, has become increasingly opaque, and there are a lot of resources that the Chinese government will allocate towards its military that don't show up in any official statistics. And that makes it really very hard for observers to really assess the strength of China's military. That's really not easy.
OK, Fabian, thanks so much. That's Fabian Kretschmer reporting from Beijing.